All right, we have excellent Dr. Bonelos from the math department. And I think we have a math alum in the panel, right? Is it Brenda, do you double major?
I just did a math minor.
Math minor, okay.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Well, hello everyone. We'll have different people trickle in, but we'll get this going. My name is Jay Daniel Gomez. I am a career advisor with the Career Development Center at Fresno State. And I'm really excited to host this alumni panel on data science, careers in data science and data analytics. This came about from different interests from our students and seeing that this is an emerging uh, professional field with all this data that we produce with our interactions with technology, there's actual use of it. So we reached out to a variety of alumni from different backgrounds and majors. You'll get to hear their stories, are the panelists we have today. And they'll share you how they interact with data in their jobs and what their careers like. So we'll go ahead and do a quick round of introductions. If you can please share what you currently do, your job title, the company you work with, and everybody's here's an alumni. What degree you graduated with Fresno State and what year you graduated. So we'll start with Madeline.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Maddie Roberts. I graduated from Fresno State in 2019. I have a business administration degree with an emphasis in data analytics. So I was one of the first couple students to actually go through that degree and worked with Dr. Jacobs and Dr. Tanai and kind of got the degree set up. But currently, I'm an associate data analyst for a company called Kilvar, and it's a global software vendor for enterprise procurement teams.
Thanks for sharing that. We'll pass it over to Justin. You can share with us a bit about your background, what you do now. I've seen you, I think, recently took a new job. So if you want to share a little bit of your background in your career.
Yeah, definitely. Hi everybody. My name is Justin Okonkwo. I graduated from Fresno State in 2019 as well. Grown and born in Fresno, Clovis area, so have a little bit of roots there. But I graduated with a bachelor's in biology, and yeah, it was a kind of different switch in a sense, very unorthodox kind of pathway, but even with that being, yeah, I graduated and I was able to figure out my lane towards data analytics. And after some just kind of mentorship and a lot of planning and studying, I was able to get a role at Flyer Labs, which is a remote company, data analytics company, an AI company that really emphasizes on revenue operations in the travel and transportation industry. And solely right now, they're focusing on the airline industry. So I'm helping with their implementation team.
All right, happy to have you, Justin. We'll pass it over to Brenda. If you can share with us once again your degree, when you graduated, and how you got transitioned in the career you're in.
Yeah, hi, I'm Brenda. I graduated from Fresno State back in 2014 with a bachelor's in econ, and then I minored in math. After that, I pursued some graduate education, and then I sort of stumbled upon data science since one of my first few roles required me to do some data analysis, and I found out that I really enjoy doing that. And I'm currently a risk data analyst at Google for the trust and safety team.
Right, happy to have you here. And Jaime, we'll pass it on to you. If you can share the degree you graduated with and kind of how you got into this field.
All right, my name is Jaime Garcia. I graduated in 2010 with a degree in sociology. So I'm kind of like Justin, it's kind of an unorthodox pathway. You know, I had no idea of going into data analysis. I just kind of stumbled upon it. I got an internship with UC Merced. The department is Center for Educational Partnership. So I'm just doing basically just simple data analysis. I liked it. And then when I graduated, they kept me on, and I've been there ever since, so almost 12 years now.
All right, well, thank you all for sharing your backgrounds, the degrees you studied, and I'm happy the audience will get to see that you don't need to pick a specific major, and we'll tap into those of you that don't have that training or that academic background, how did you get into the field if there's some additional training? So that leads me to the next question is, how did you get into the field? Some of you kind of mentioned a little bit of that, but if you can expand on how, was it through an internship or did you have a mentor that pulled you into this field? And how did it all start for you? For this one, we'll start back around. So Jaime, do you mind expanding more about that internship or your
Sure.
experience?
Like I said, I was taking sociology, and then part of that is the research design and in statistics. And I really like those courses. You know, I really found it intriguing. I like numbers, I guess. And then, so I was really into that. So my professor was the one that actually told me about an internship. He said, you might want to, you know, try it out, test the waters. If you like it, fine. If not, who knows? And so that's how originally how I got the position. I started off as an intern, just doing simple data analysis for them, you know, charts, graphs, stuff like that, you know, student data. So our department deals with partnerships with different schools. So it's working with different school districts even, and then pulling student data. So we're always just looking at student data and then presenting it to our partners. And that's kind of how I just got into that. Just, you know, they like my work. I asked me if I wanted to stay. I stayed on and I liked it. And every day it's gotten different from where I first started. You know, it's progressed more and more and more, and different challenges, different learning, just different skills. And so I like it.
All right, thanks for sharing that. Brenda, we'll come to you. How did you, make your way into this field?
Yeah, I think it all first started when I was a research assistant for a professor in my graduate program. So we were working with a lot of housing data, and at that time in econ, it's common to use data. But from there, I started branching out and learning other like programming languages and other like tools for statistical analysis like R. And then from that, that's how it all started. I think I filled in the gaps over time through different courses online, like Coursera is a great resource for filling in the gaps. Like I learned SQL through that. And then I landed my first job, and that also had some like data analysis. So that's how it all started.
And Brenda, if you don't mind me asking, did you start here locally or did you apply, and when were the job wares?
Yeah, so my graduate program was at Duke in North Carolina. And then I grew up in Fresno, so I wanted to move back to California after living in North Carolina. So my first job was actually in Irvine, which was the closest I could get to home. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, Justin, we'll come to you. How did you get into this field?
Yeah, so a couple of things I could talk about. I was in biology research at Fresno State. I worked under Dr. Trisha Van Laar, which she emphasized on microbiology. And so I went to many conferences, did a lot of research. I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't too sure if that career path was gonna fit for me in terms of what you would do outside with a bachelor's degree. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into a PhD in other fields. And so one field that kind of caught my interest was a field called bioinformatics. And that's basically the computational aspect on biology research. And it was relatively new. This is like 2018. Didn't really know where to find out about it. Did my research, asked at conferences, wasn't too much. So I kind of took a blind shot, and just while for my next semester, I signed up for an intro to C++ class. I think it's CSCI 40, I believe. And I just took that class with just the mindset of, I'm not sure what this is going to do for me, but I feel like understanding programming and understanding some type of like having that in my back pocket should be helpful in the future. And so I took that class with Dr. David Ruby, and I really enjoyed the class. It was a different aspect in terms of just taking tests and figuring out if you're right or wrong. It was more problem solving. And so from there, I felt, I heard a lot of things about computer science in terms of careers you can build outside of a bachelor's. And I did a lot of research, and even having conversations with Dr. David Ruby and some other mentors that he led me towards, I found data science was a field that I wanted to pursue. And from there, I kind of just try to figure out all the main skills to learn and be really resourceful. That's the best way I could summarize it, being in the right rooms and being resourceful to where I got myself to where I am today.
Right on, Justin. Thanks for giving us some context on that transition from biology to data science. Nice. And Maddie, you had more of a linear path, but we're still curious, how was the transition for you, or how'd you get into the field?
Sure. So I was in a math class my sophomore year at Fresno State, and Dr. Tanai was my professor, and he gave a presentation to the class about the new data analytics major. And it kind of intrigued me. So I talked to him more, kind of learned about the classes and the curriculum. And kind of from then on, something just clicked. And I was like, okay, I think this is what I want my degree to be in. I think this is the career field I want to work in. So I did that. And then straight out of college, I looked specifically for data analytic jobs. I found one in Fresno. I worked at the Better Business Bureau, was a data specialist from them. And then since then, I just have always looked for data jobs, which definitely since I graduated, it's kind of exponential rate of how many are available and how many are out there. And yeah, so I hope to keep continuing to work in data analytics, hopefully maybe get a master's in it and just kind of progress along as the career field.
Right on. And just pointing something in common, it looks like faculty, talking to your faculty or them kind of presenting an opportunity, you being bold enough to, all right, I'll try it out, right? I'll test the waters, right? I'll give it a shot, and actually finding that it led to a passion. So wanted to, kind of point that out for all of you. There was that common thread. For this one, we'll start with Brenda. We'll pass it to you. What does a typical day look like for you and your current job? And is there like certain parts of the day you enjoy, like favorite parts, or parts that you wish you knew more about before you went into this field?
Yeah, I think so. Prior to my current job, I was a data scientist at Disney Television, so it was a very different domain. And now I work in trust and safety, so it's of course fighting scams in the internet. And so what my day-to-day looks like is doing different types of data analysis to find those bad actors, explaining like our ecosystem. And then I guess the challenge for me was, transferring from one domain to another domain. Yeah.
Justin, we'll come back to you. What does a day in your current role look like? What time do you go to work? Well, the kind of schedule you have, or what does that look like?
Well, I'm at work right now. No, I'm kidding. I'm just joking with you guys. Yeah, before, like mentioned, I just got this role here at Flyer Labs. So I haven't started with them yet. It's still on the pathway. But before I had this role, I was a data analyst at a company for Fresno that works in the food manufacturing business. And so for there, they didn't really have too much emphasis on the newest technology, but I still played a role as a data analyst in terms of cleaning data, maintaining it, having meetings here and there, just kind of understand the stakeholders and their pain points and what they need from the data. And if there's areas where I can help with that, along with data visualization reports in terms of if it's finance or if it's actually looking at our actual product and seeing the movement of it, just kind of figuring out different tools that we can use like Tableau and showing that those visualizations if it's quarter to quarter. And then also there's that alone time, right, to kind of investigate and look into the data. And so, I think, do you want me to answer that? Someone asked which Fresno company, yeah. So, and it's, again, all this is really unorthodox. The company that I worked for was Pacific Grain and Foods. And so they are a food manufacturing company. But when I came to that company, I really came at a time where I was in the middle of my transition towards data analytics. And so I had some things on my resume that showcased that I could handle data and try to figure out insights. But one thing for me, at least when I was searching for it, I couldn't find too many companies that had a big emphasis in terms of the certain tools that I wanted to use. So me and the HR kind of had a conversation and we were trying to figure out a fit on how I can utilize my skill set and the tools towards helping the company. So kind of like was kind of not really made on the spot, but there wasn't really a direction in terms of me coming into that position. It was more me learning on the job and figuring out where could I help. So, which is for people to, if they're trying to get into data analytics, it's another route too.
Yeah, and I think you highlighted an important thing love knowing the skill set of the industry, but also how to articulate it in your interview, right? And I have this background, here's why I can use it. And yeah, you got to sell yourself in those interviews. Maddie, we'll pass it on to you. What does a day in the life of Madeline at work look like? Is there parts you enjoy more than others?
Yeah, so I work at home. It's a virtual remote job. My company is actually based in Ireland. So our US team kind of works hand in hand with the European team, which is definitely a bonus. But as far as like day-to-day activities, 50% is kind of working on internal projects. So doing data migration and kind of knowledge management. We're prepping for an audit, so we're just getting kind of all of our ducks in a row for that. And then my second part of the day is working on more client-facing activities, offering support. Our software is live 24/7, so if there's ever any issues with the software that our clients are having, we're there to help them with that and kind of work through their solutions. Um, I really like how the company culture is for Kilvar. It's something I've never seen before. I don't know if that's because it's a European company or what, but I feel valued as an employee. There's lots of resources for us, so I really like that aspect. And then I've only been working here for three months, so there's nothing so far that I don't like about it. But yeah, so that's kind of what I like.
All right, Jaime, what about you? What does a day in your job look like?
Well, currently I'm working from home. We have offices here in Fresno. So our office originally started here in Fresno. And then, so basically what we do at the center is we do partnerships with different school districts. And we also run college access programs. So we have counselors that work in those programs. So they work at different school sites. So they go all over the Central Valley. And so sometimes they're based out of Merced. So, but myself, and we're actually a data team. So it's myself and then we got like two programmers. We got another programmer that's in Sacramento because we have a partnership with Sacramento City School District. And so we have two programmers in-house and then myself, and we're basically a data team. And so what we basically do is we offer data analysis for these different partnerships, these different school districts. And sometimes we work with smaller school districts that, they all need data. They all have data, but they don't know how to use it. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to access it. They don't have the resources. Or they might, sometimes they don't even have like an IT department. They have somebody, that maybe somebody before them showed them how to pull data or something, and so they're like, just whatever SIS system they're using. And that's basically all they know how to do that. So we kind of go in there, we go in on the back end, we design tools for them. We pull that data ourselves and then, we present reports for them, help them with projects if there's certain goals that they're looking for. If not, we also help them with, the expertise. We provide that as well. Like, what are some of the things that you can do with data to help out your students? So I have a lot of projects that are kind of going on. And so every day it's different. That's the cool thing about it. We just had like a 4-year partnership with Fresno Unified. And that was like really fast paced. Every week was something different, because we provided data for a lot of departments there. And so, every day was, either pulling data for somebody. We also developed a dashboard indicator system. So sometimes we would have to create new indicators. And so we go in there and like myself, I'm the one that creates the SQL queries for those, for those indicators. And then a lot of it is troubleshooting as well. Sometimes, you get people that'll come up and say, this data is, maybe doesn't look right or something, or there's something wrong with them. So we troubleshoot it or we tweak it for them. Sometimes they want something on a quarterly basis instead of, a semester basis or something. So it's very like custom. It's kind of almost like custom work that we do for them. There's really nothing that we can do. It's just, whatever they, the client wants, we're there pretty much to help them and stuff. So it's very interesting. That's one thing I like about it. It's like totally different stuff. As a matter of fact, right now, I'm working on program evaluation for some of our programs. So that changes, you see. So I'm doing that and I'm doing, data analysis and I'm doing, support services for other, Sacramento partners. So it's different things throughout the day. and every day it's just different. Anything can come down the pipe, and we got to jump on it and stuff. So that's what I like about it. So it keeps it busy, makes the time go by fast. Like I said, I've been here with 12 years, and it seems like I just started yesterday. You learn, and you learn on the job. You learn. So a lot of the skills basically that I've learned is basically, on the word SQL. I didn't know anything about that, and when I first started at Fresno Unified, that was one of the big things. We got in there and started pulling that data, and so you got to learn it real fast, and in whatever other skills you think are useful, at the time to learn. So learn as you go.
Thanks for that, Jaime. And as you were speaking about technologies, learning a job, changing priorities, I saw everybody nodding. And I think maybe that's something that you can all agree in this field. And it sounds like you don't have the same day multiple times. So this is going to tie to what you know now that you're at an industry working, and thinking back when you were a student. Were there any specific classes or activities that you did that you feel kind of gave you a leg up, or gave you some exposure to this field, or that that experience really helped me in a way kind of prepare for what I do now? So we'll start with Madeline for this one. Was there like a class or something you did?
Yeah, there was a lot. I definitely tried to stay really busy. I did an internship at the Better Business Bureau. It's a semester long, so I worked there, and I kind of sat down with them and kind of told them about my major, and we agreed on some things that I could do for them to learn, and also got to get 3 credits, so that was nice, kind of like a win-win. Had credits towards my degree and then still got experience. I also did a semester abroad in Australia, and I think that really helped me to learn how to work with different kinds of people. Even in Australia, they speak English, but just kind of some of their cultural nuances are different than how Americans work. So I definitely think that kind of impacted how I work and how I work in a team today. I also worked part-time all throughout college, and I think that really helped just gain experience. And I worked in an office, so I count as professional work. And I think kind of having that on my resume helped me get some of the jobs that I did, just because I had that experience at a young age. I also was in a sorority, and I held leadership positions. I volunteered in the community, and I went to different conferences across the country. That helped me kind of network with peers my age, and then kind of sorority alums. So I got to start networking with people who were older than me, who had been in the workforce for a long time. So I think just trying to join a club or kind of do something outside of classes is really helpful. And there's something out there for everyone for them to do, whether that be something about data analytics, or maybe you join a reading club and just start networking and building connections as a young adult, I think is important.
Thanks for that. And you did quite a bit. You were really active on campus.
Mhm.
We'll pass it over to Brenda for this one. Besides your classwork, or was there any other things you were involved as a student that helped you?
Yeah, I think honestly, my first exposure to data or data analysis was I joined the Crack School of Business Honors Program. And so as part of that, we had to write a thesis and collect data. So actually distributed surveys, collected data, and then conducted data analysis. And just going through that entire experience at Fresno State, I think was tremendously helpful, both for helping me get into a graduate program, but also exposing me to research for the first time. And then aside from that, I also worked I did sort of an independent project with another student for our econometrics class, which is stats and econ combined. And so as part of that, we actually put together a little predictive model. And so that was really fun. So doing these more ad hoc projects on the side, I think were really helpful.
Pass it over to Jaime. Besides going to class, what else were you involved as a student?
I was in a sociology club. Like I said, I was taking sociology. I really wasn't too sure what I was gonna go. I thought I was gonna maybe go into counseling or something like that. But like I said, the statistics part of it and the research design part of it, like Brenda said, we learned about survey questionnaire design and all that, and actually doing that with classmates around school and collecting that data. And so, kind of like, mock data, just practicing, and it was intriguing. I liked it, and I really did kind of just put a lot of my effort more into the statistics part of it and stuff. And then so I really liked it, and we were using SPSS at the time, and so just really learning that. And then like Excel, it's like our bread and butter, and just simple tools like that. And then just really getting into that, and I just liked it, like the numbers. Like I said, then my professor, Schwinning, was my professor in those courses, and then he was the one that was like, you're really good with numbers and stuff, and you're good at the detailing and stuff, picking up mistakes, looking for patterns and stuff like that. He goes, maybe you should go into data analysis, and there's this position if you want to, jump on it and stuff, and I was like, oh well, I guess. I was, it sounded foreign, data analysis. Oh my God, it's a lot really to it, but in the end, it's just data and just getting and helping people understand it, basically. So like I said, in my position, I learned a lot of it on the job, just working with different tools and just learning as we go. But school wise, yeah, that was basically it, because I really wasn't thinking of going in that direction. In retrospect, maybe I probably would have look for more like maybe programming languages or something like that to dive into and stuff, so it'd be an easier transition. But either way, if you learn on the job, you learn at school, you're always constantly learning. That's what I found out.
Thanks for that, Jaime. How about you, Justin? I think you mentioned you were in research, but any other activities?
Yeah, kind of for a preface, I took like a really self-taught route. So there's a lot of self-learning and whatever it is, the paths I took as Orthodox. And so I wanted to just focus real quickly on just 3 different things that I did, but some of them, one is just technical, but a lot of the other ones are less technical. So my first experience was when I was able to do research. I was able to do research at UCLA for 2 summers, and I went out there to do stem cell research. And through certain connections, I was able to have that opportunity. It's actually right before I transferred to Fresno State, and then also another summer while I was at State. And the reason why I emphasized that was that it really was the first moment that got me outside of my comfort zone. It really kind of got me around different people, got me around people that had a different mindset in terms of how high their ceiling is. And just those kind of opportunities and conversations and those networking opportunities really kind of changed how I approached a lot of my activities and business when I was at Fresno State. The second was my clubs that I was involved with, and it was less technical, more cultural clubs. I was a part of ASA, which is African Student Association. I was like, I think a provost and then a VP for some of the terms in a sense. And I emphasize that experience mainly because you're again you emphasize diversity and you emphasize learning about other people. And that's a true soft skill that can come really handy, not only in data analytics and data science, but just in all different kinds of professions, to be able to understand different people, understand different aspects, perspectives, and then still know how to, coordinate and relate, or even have a difference in a sense. It's really important. And then I think my last one, which is the most technical and more direct towards this, was a group called the Fresno Data Science Community Group. And so this group, it kind of originated at Fresno State. And then once the pandemic happened, we're mainly Zoom talks and on Slack. And I was introduced to this group through Dr. David Ruby. I had a conversation with him, told him my interests and trying to figure out my directions. He introduced me to a person named Anthony Ross, who is my mentor. And he really saw my drive and perseverance towards data science and just how interested I was in these talks that he had at Fresno State. It'd be like a random Thursday evening. He would talk about machine learning. He'll talk about kind of business analytics and how they relate. Yeah, business analytics and how, what type of code you do relates to the business. He'll talk about high technology or cutting edge technology like deep learning, convolutional neural networks, a couple of things I can't even get out right now. But these were all different technologies that I had no clue about. And these are not only the drivers of the everyday apps and the services that we use. And so from there, I was able to learn Python, learn SQL, work on different projects that are on my GitHub. And that was really a boost. But it wasn't just about learning this stuff, but it was a real community group of different individuals that also wanted to push themselves in that direction. So that's just from being in the right room that I was able to get there. So that's something that happened during college and towards the end of college that helped me through my journey.
All right. Well, thank you all for those gems. I hope, students that are watching and faculty or even folks that watch the recording can take advantage of all these opportunities. Justine, do you mind repeating the group, the community group? What is it called?
Yeah. So it was kind of like, I don't know if it's like super like official in a sense, but it was called the Fresno Data Science Community Group. It was started by an individual named Anthony Ross. I believe he has some connections with Fresno or Fresno State. And the whole idea is that he was doing data science in the Bay Area and different areas and consulting in a sense. And he got a lot of, from his business partners, he got a lot of requests where he realized there was not as much talent in the Central Valley in terms of data science, data analytics. So what he wanted to do is give back to the community and basically teach these topics and kind of make a space for people to drive more into data science. It was in person back in mid and early 2019. Now it's mainly on Slack. We would also have meetups as well. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with the site Meetup, but this is where people can like just all sign on in a sense and just have a Zoom meeting or whatever it is. And so what I will say, if you're more interested about it towards the end or emails in a sense, I'll try to, I think that's.
I just dropped the meetup. That's what I found.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a meetup there. And then once you're able to attend some future meetups, there's opportunities to actually join the Slack where there's individuals. I think there's a Python bootcamp coming up, hopefully in the future. I'm hoping to teach people about SQL in a sense and some other different things. So it's a great resource. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
All right. Thanks for mentioning that. I want to make sure I put the right link when you said meetup. I'm like, I'm on the right track. Okay. All right. We're going to come back to the next question. And some of you kind of name drop some technologies or some specific skill sets that you use in your position or that you use in different roles. So the question is, what skills or additional certificates or even graduate education do you think college students need to gain to be best prepared to enter this field of work? And we'll start with Jaime. In your opinion, what have you seen or what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my areas of education. So we're just looking at a lot of student data. So it's really learning information systems. I guess different schools, they all use different different graphical interfaces. So there are different school information systems. Some use Power School, some use Infinite Campus, stuff like that. So every time it's different. So we got to go in there and learn that and stuff. That way we can map it out to all the data and stuff. So right off the bat, it's a learning experience, learning what, where their data is. So that's where the SQL, like for us, SQL comes in handy. We use that a lot. Like I said, we're a team, so we have like some programmers, and then we all go in there and just start mapping out where's that data, because you ask people and they're like, oh, I don't know where that data is. We're stored somewhere. So then we start mapping it out. We start generating tables. And then, like I said, we make tools for them. We do dashboards, we do indicator systems. We have tools that analyze like grades for them, so they don't have to. A lot of times they do that stuff by hand. So when we go in there, we're like, we have these tools that we built. All we need to do is just point it towards your data. So pull that in there. So some of those are the skills that we use. Like I said, I've learned SPSS. That's what I started off with. We use some places I used Tableau, like when we were at Fresno Unified. They started using Tableau. Over here at Sacramento, we're using Power BI. So they're also using Illuminate, which is another like a data. It's kind of like an all-in-one data storage and analytics software tool that they're using and stuff. So then we kind of have to interface with that. So then we have to learn that as well. So it's a lot of learning different, almost like learning different languages, So it's like learning different systems, different school systems. So I guess that's a skill in itself, because you really got to learn it. Otherwise you're lost, trying to find that data, because we need to find it because they, that's what they want. The graphical part, that's like I said, we have our programmers, and that's kind of where maybe some skills I would recommend, maybe, getting into that at the beginning, we used a lot of like Cold Fusion. And our main programmer said that was just something that I guess they had started off with. And so it was available, but now they're switching over to like a .NET network. And so our programmers, they are also learning, new languages as well. So our new programmers that have come on, they've had to learn that. And so it's just a matter of switching all our data to that system. And so I'm kind of learning as I'm going, but I wish I would have in school would taken some, more classes like that to help facilitate. That's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, if something comes up, feel free to drop it in the chat.
All
I know
right.
there's like a whole new language and vocabulary into this field. Maddie, we'll pass it on to you. What about now that you are in this world, and I'm happy you had this experience with an international company too. Some things you learn now cross continental.
Sure. As far as kind of like skill sets, I think knowing how to code for sure is definitely important. That could be SQL, R, Python, kind of anything. I would recommend getting really good with one first and being pretty proficient in that coding language, and then maybe try to learn new languages once you're ready. And I think just wanting to like keep learning is important, and you could do that through a graduate certificate, a graduate degree, or LinkedIn has classes where you can learn new things. And I think just always wanting to learn is an important skill that you need, because data is always changing, it's always going to improve. So if you kind of stay up with the times, I think that's important. And I think too, like, don't be afraid to ask your employer about what kind of like services they offer. I did a graduate certificate at my previous job at the University of Arkansas for medical sciences. So I got a graduate degree in healthcare analytics. And so that's where I learned R and just how analytics relates to healthcare. So that kind of helped me because I was working for the hospital and they paid for me to learn more about healthcare analytics. So I think using your employer kind of as a tool set to see what they can offer you and how you can kind of work together is definitely important.
Thanks for that. Yeah, your employer also has incentives for you to continue learning.
Mhm,
Invest in you.
mhm.
Yeah. Brenda, how about you? How about the previous companies? And I think you said you pursued a master's, right?
Yeah, so during my master's program, I actually specialized in stats and econometrics. And so I got a lot of exposure to different modeling techniques. And then I complemented that by taking courses on Coursera to learn how to code in SQL, how to use R, Python. So I think it was both a mix of like traditional schoolwork, but also being proactive and taking like these other courses on my own. I think they both complement each other. I also want to emphasize for that interview prep is very important sometimes for the roles. So I think just doing like tons of practice problems, there's a lot of good websites out there that are free that you can use to practice both SQL problems, Python, and I think this is a critical piece for landing a role in data science or as a data analyst.
Out of curiosity, do you want to name drop some of these tools? Is it LeetCode or?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
yeah, LeetCode, HackerRank. I think all of that helps. I think Justin mentioned this earlier, but even having a portfolio really helps as well.
excellent. Thanks for that. Justin, feel free to teach us on your journey. I know you went solo there.
Yeah, no, that definitely. I think there's a lot of skills that everybody mentioned, like R, Python, SQL. I think those are like the three main ones for sure. For me, I think that when I mentioned that I did that intro to C++ class, I'm looking back at it at the time, not thinking anything of it, but it was really critical for me because it gave me a foundation to programming language. So understanding what print does and how classes and all these different things are all linked together helped me really have like a seamless, I wouldn't say seamless, it's still hard, but had me easier process to learning Python. When it comes to, I'm trying to think if there's anything else, I will say there's one certificate, especially if you're interested in data analytics, and this might be a shout out to Brenda, but for sure, I think the biggest one for me is the Google Data Analytics certificate. That's a certificate that was curated and made by Google, where they cover a lot of topics. Like I think you learn a little bit of R, you learn a little bit of SQL, you use their Google Cloud Platform, GCP. So I think like Amazon has AWS, Microsoft has Azure, and then Google has GCP. And a cloud platform is basically you're able to do a lot of you have the resources and just the technology to do a lot of these computations, but over your computer in a cloud kind of platform in a sense. But the whole point of that certificate, I felt like it was really good. So you learn all these different things, but it really puts emphasis from the business perspective in terms of being a data analyst. So you kind of understand like, what are the questions you want to ask? Why is it important to have clean data? What are the methods in a sense? So it's just a lot of little nuances, or not nuances, maybe I'm losing the wrong word, but just the small discrepancies that you learn about being a data analyst. And then maybe the only other thing I could say is, again, this is just my mindset. I believe, and just from just being around the internet and, you know, being resourceful, I believe you can learn anything you want for free, like literally anything you want. Like YouTube is your best friend, Google's your best friend. The only difference is whether you learn it for free on your own time, or whether you pay for a boot camp, or whether you do a full graduate degree. It's more about, and in my opinion, about the direction, and then also your time, and then the money that you have, or whatever it is in terms of resources. I think obviously a graduate degree would be a little bit more direct. You have it on paper, you know, on your resume and everything, but it costs time, it costs money. Boot camps a little bit faster, and they're more guided, but also cost money. And if you go self-route a journey, you kind of have less direction, but you can learn literally the same things and the same skills, just really based off of your determination. And like Madeline said, really wanting to learn and figuring out, because you learn one thing, there's 10 more things to learn in a sense to get you better. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for schooling us on the technologies and what your day looks like. This kind of connects maybe to interviewing and the roles that you have right now. And now, what do you think, you know, every time you apply for a job, there's that voice in the back of your head, like, am I going to get an interview? There's more people applying for it, like, and all this noise could happen. But when you interview for your current role, what do you think set you apart from others and helped you land the position?
Is that a question for me or someone?
Let's go ahead and pick it up, Justin.
Okay. Yeah, I think the interviewing aspect, like Brenda said, it's how I put it, it's a whole different monster. You can get your skills, you can get, you know, your resume right and everything, but now when you actually get an interview, it's a whole different like sport in a sense. I think that interview prep, in terms of just kind of looking at, it's really about understanding what is on the interview and understanding what you need to be prepared for. Because I can know Python, but I don't know how they're using Python in that role and what they're testing me on. Do they want to know I'm good at this or that? Same thing with SQL. Do they want to know if I can be able to do this or that? So I would say a big thing in terms for interview prep is for sure utilizing your network. I think LinkedIn is a really big one. Also being resourceful, going on YouTube. Surprisingly, I'm telling you, it's so unorthodox, but I learned about this app called Blind. And Blind is an app where a lot of individuals that work in the tech space, tech professionals, they basically have their own Reddit in a sense, or their own like forum where they could talk about so many different aspects, whether it's, you know, their life problems. They could talk about total compensation from company to company. They can talk about cost of living in a sense. And so a lot of people are also on there just to figure out, hey, what are things I need to learn, or what is this company, how the interviews, really a lot of people are asking like how the interviews for this or that. And I found this link on one of the posts about a Discord where they had a lot of people preparing. It was like basically a group study. And that was very crucial for me, because once I joined that Discord, not only did they have so many resources in terms of, you know, they have a term called FANG, which represents Facebook, Apple, it's two A's. oh man, I forgot. I don't know if anybody can help me. For Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, and something else. Man,
Amazon?
Amazon. So they have, I'm sorry, someone wrote something down, but so they have those main companies that a lot of people strive for, and then a lot of other companies in a sense in terms of what to expect in these interviews, what to study for, different roles. And I was able to actually get like a good friend that I have on LinkedIn now, and we studied together because we were going through a Facebook interview together. And so we were able to kind of grind it out, like literally every morning. We'd wake up at 8 a.m. He would be on the East Coast, I think on Canada, and we'd practice SQL problems and practice product sense problems. And so kind of just to tie that all back together, just being resourceful and figuring out what, like if you're applying for something, understand what is that role about, and then is there anybody that either works at the company or knows someone that works at the company that you can find for more information. And so I think those are just the main things when for interview prep. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Justin, just real quick, you mentioned this blind. Is it teamblind.com? Is that or if you
yeah, so
chat.
I hope I can probably look into it, and then
feel free to email it to me, and if anybody has questions, reach out to me. All right, we'll pass it to Brenda. Interviewing, any tips for those who want to enter the field?
Yeah, I think the first tip that I would give is to use the STAR method for putting together your resume and prepping for interviews. That will help get you in the door. So I think the STAR method is especially popular in tech companies, of describing like a specific situation you had and how you resolved that. And it's very action driven and also results driven. So I would say that's the first tip. And then using the STAR method as well when you're doing more of the behavioral interviews and talking about the projects you've worked on, that's tremendously helpful. The second thing is, of course, using one of these platforms to practice SQL or Python problems. I know before for the role, the current one and the last one, I actually practiced for months during the weekends or evenings on these, like doing tons of different types of SQL problems, like anything that can come your way. And same with Python. So I think practice is key for mastering the technical piece of the interviews. And then I think the third thing is just really, I think Justin did mention that, really understanding the role. I think that's so very, very key for how you prep for it. For example, if you're applying for like a product data analyst, really understanding the product that you're going to be interviewing for and how you would answer like the different case study questions for that is key as well. So I think like those three things I would recommend for anyone interviewing for data analyst or data science roles.
Right on. Madeline, we'll pass it to you. Any tips about interviewing?
Yeah, I think it's important to get to know the company that you're interviewing for. I've been asked in multiple interviews. So tell us what you know about our company. What do you think we do? Kind of something like that. So I think it's important that you research the company. You know, the whole point of an interview is to make sure that, you know, you come off as a good candidate, but then I think it's important to get to know that the company that you might be working for. So don't be afraid to ask them questions, you know, ask them, you know, what are some goals you're looking for this position to accomplish in the next 6 or 12 months. Kind of get to know the company better too, because it's also in a sense an interview for them as well on why they should kind of have you as an employee. And then I've used Glassdoor before for kind of looking up interview questions. People go on there and kind of give reviews of their time as an employee for a company. So that's always something that's available. So it's Glassdoor. I would recommend looking on there as well.
Thanks for that. And Jaime, it sounds like you haven't interviewed in a while, but thinking back with your role, any tips?
Yeah, that's correct. I haven't interviewed in a while, but I've been on interview panels because we've hired different analysts and even programmers to the various different partnerships that we've had. So kind of basically the same thing. Not really too much new to add here than like kind of what Brenda, Madeline had mentioned, Justin. Knowing the skills, you know, there's the skills like SQL for us is a one big skill that we look for. Python, R, stuff like that. It's not necessary. So it's more like graphical skills. That's one thing we kind of don't touch on sometimes, like graphic design. Especially for us that we build tools, you want something that's also, that looks nice. That's just not an ugly table or ugly charts on there and stuff, So that's kind of one thing I think that's kind of underrated. And then just, yeah, like Madeline was saying, just knowing what you're interviewing for, for us, it's different departments. So, jump on the website, look at the department, what they're dealing with, what they're working on, and then kind of get to know it and stuff. So that's going to be the kind of work that you're going to be working for. And like I mentioned earlier, we run like college access programs, and those are different grants. So sometimes those grants have objectives built into them. And so that's what we're looking for in the end, because we can't really steer away from that. So if you know those objectives, you know what those goals are, that's what we're looking to achieve. And then, so then, that's basically going to be the driver of your work. So getting to know stuff like that, know the background, know the history, know where they're going with that. That's about it.
Well, this is pretty much taking us to the end. I myself learned a ton from you guys. I know we had some faculty in attendance, and I know they were jotting down these websites or tools you were name dropping. So I just invite everybody to continue joining these webinars. If you know someone that wants to go in this field but couldn't join, this will be uploaded on our YouTube page. Just YouTube/Higher Fresno State, you'll find us, or go to our website. We have a YouTube button there. So I want to take this time to say thank you to our panelists. It really means a lot, and I appreciate you being, paying it forward. Now you're in the career. Hopefully this gave you some flashbacks of things you were doing at Fresno State, and know that, we always appreciate you giving back, especially in this form. And I believe everybody, Adrian can correct me, but I think we reached out to everyone through LinkedIn. So I believe all of you are on LinkedIn. So if you're out there and want to connect with any of these amazing alumni, can they look you up on LinkedIn? All right.
Yeah, sure.
And if you ever need help building a LinkedIn account, come and see us. So with this being said, thank you, everyone. We'll go ahead and close here. And if you want to learn more,